UFC Edmonton, Albazi versus Brendan Moreno, a crappy flyweight card. Starts in about 20-ish hours. You'll see somewhere up that way. Um, and I'm here to break down how awesome this card is going to be. Uh, First off, we're going to start off with the early prelims, which would be this first fight. We're going to end with the main event being this. And going to give fight picks and break down what we think is going to happen in each fight. And we'll start with this, which, you know, here's what I think is going to happen. She'll win by decision. Terrible fight. Anyways, moving on. Chad Henniger versus Cody Gibson. This should be a pretty decent little matchup. Both of them have 500 records. Well, a little above 500 records, not real 500, but they've won double their losses. Each one of them has lost to some okay guys. Well, I don't like that loss. I'm gonna pick Cody Gibson to win by decision. I don't like him losing to a guy that is Asian. That they're terrible at fighting. If you're not South Korean and you're Asian, it is what it is. Cody Gibson's gonna win this fight. Moving on to Sarir Sadi versus Garrett Armfield. This is the dude who fought Ramon Tavares 2 times in a row. Versus Garrett Armfield. Garrett Armfield has lost to Brady Highstand, and by finish to Brady Highstand. But he beat Brad Katona, which is that's a pretty good win. So when they're kind of close like this, I tend to look at their measurables, and this dude is a fair amount bigger. So I'd pick him to end up winning a... Have you ever submitted anyone? I'm going to pick him to get a TKO in round 2. I think he'll be a little too much for this guy, for Garrett Armfield. Garrett Armfield losing, getting submitted by Brady Highstand is just... That's tough. Alexander Romanov versus Rodrigo Nascimento. This is going to be a pretty solid fight for 2 fat guys. Well, one real fat guy, and then one, kind of fat guy. Romanov was recently victim to the Fat Man Slayer. Yeah, Jailton Almeida. Literally fucking out here killing fat men. Yeah, this is a pretty good fight. Damn, I didn't know Nascimento's reach was 80 inches. I feel like, you look at decisions at heavyweight, split decisions at that. I think Alexander Romanov's gonna blob on top of him and just maybe get a submission. Maybe I'm being hopeful here and hoping that we get a finish on a kind of crappy card, which it would not surprise me in the slightest to not see a finish on this terrible card in heavyweight. So actually, I'm going to pick decision. Yusuf Zalal versus Jack Shore. This is actually going to be a fucking banger. This is going to be a good fight. Yusuf Zalal is a monster. Jack Shore is a pretty good fighter as well. He's lost to Joe Anderson Brito and Ricky Simon, which now that's starting to age kind of bad, but not horrifically. He's still a good fighter. Only 2 losses on his record, and these being the 2. I'd say he's pretty fucking good. I'm going to end up picking Yusuf Zalal to overwhelm this dude, though. I think that he'll be able to take him in deep waters and just beat him down over time. Zalal's ground game is actually pretty good as well. Dude went to decision with Ilia Topuria, which is a pretty sizable thing now. Looking like that's a substantial accolade, is to be able to go to decision with him now. I'm gonna pick Yusuf Zalal to take it to this kid. I think he's gonna TKO Jack Shore in the third round. Charles Jourdain versus Victor Henry. This should be a pretty fun fight. I think Charles Jourdain going down to bantamweight is going to be pretty good for his career. He's always been kind of undersized at featherweight. It's not been the best thing for him being down there, or up there, I mean. Although, like, he's always, like, this close to being in the fight. He's always in the fight, I guess I should say, but if he had a little more size and a good frame, or if he had more size onto his frame, he would be pretty substantially good at the weight classes he had been at. But Victor Henry's a good fighter himself. It's tough to pick against him, but he is a bit on the older side at bantamweight, so I'm gonna go with Jourdain to actually get a finish here. I think Victor Henry can get overwhelmed a little bit. So I'm going to pick a round 3 TKO here for Charles Jourdain as well. We move on to do this again. Yeah, so we'll go with... no, sorry. That's Tails. That's Tails. Yeah. I think everything kind of explains itself. The coin knows all in general with these kind of things. We tend to stay away from these things because they're gross. You might as well do what I'm doing. There is no actual picking them. There is no real skill here. So you just kind of have to take a guess. Typically, it's the one that looks more manly. People are picking this one as well. Although, this isn't really one of those matchups where they're too manly. Anyways, moving on to a real fight. Ayman Zahabi versus... Putting Zahabi and saying real fight are two tough things. Ayman Zahabi versus Pedro Munoz. I think Pedro Munoz is just an older man. Zahabi doesn't have like a long career under his belt yet, and maybe that's honestly a bad thing for him, but he's pretty well trained from his brother, Faraz. I just don't see him getting out game planned here by the shorter, tinier reached, older man here who hasn't been winning fights recently. The Marlon Vera loss ages... Both of these age kind of poorly because Kyler Phillips just got exposed by Rob Font. Even though he did pretty good in the first round, it looked like he just didn't have a gas tank to fight Rob Font for more than a round, which is crazy to think about. Anyways, yeah, Ayman Zahabi's going to win this fight. Vera's got a chin on him. It'll be by decision. And we'll just move on. Look for the outside foot battle or something from somebody else. Mike Mallet versus Trevin Giles. Don't trust in Mike Mallet. Do not trust in Mike Mallet. He's Canadian. And he's not good. Although Trevin Giles is not like the greatest fighter ever either, he has only lost to like some fairly decent fighters. Like not only. A lot of his losses are to very good fighters. I'm going to pick him to get it done here. I'm going to pick him to knock out Mike Mallet in the first round. I think he gets it done. I just don't trust Mike Mallet in the slightest, and in front of his hometown, he's going to be all worked up. I mean, I don't know if it's hometown. He's the favorite, or he's the hometown favorite or whatever. This is a good underdog pick, too, I think. Marc-Andre Barriault versus Dustin Stolfitz. Should be a pretty good fight between two mediocre fighters. Barriault should overwhelm Stolfitz, though. Stolfitz just isn't any kind of imposing, and Barriault is. Pick Barriault to win. Let's see. How do you lose? You get finished. We'll pick a round. We'll pick a round 2 knockout. Probably be a TKO. Caio Machado versus Brendanson Ribeiro. A weird fight, seeing as how Caio Machado is moving down from heavyweight. That's a pretty cool thing to get to see. Honestly, I just genuinely don't know how I feel about this fight. It's between two guys who really can't win in the UFC because their wins are in the Contender Series. Somebody's O has to go in the UFC here, and that's winless in the UFC. Somebody has to pick up a win. Let's see who's the more sizable guy. Honestly, I like that he's got that Brendanson Ribeiro has the height disadvantage with the reach advantage. He's already the more skilled fighter, typically, you're going to think, based on where they were weight-wise. Heavyweight skill is typically fucking terrible. So let's go with Brendanson Ribeiro to get a knockout in the first round, I mean. Moving on to Derek Lewis versus Jonata Diniz. Sure, I'm not saying that right. I love Derek Lewis, so I'm going to snap pick Derek Lewis to get a knockout in the first round. He's fighting a Brazilian, which is only bad for him when he's fighting grapplers, typically. So maybe he knocks out Diniz. Don't be surprised to see Diniz beat him up. Moving on to this atrocity. That'll be a terribly boring fight, so there you go. Enjoy that. Brendan Moreno versus Amir Albazi. Another probably not so entertaining fight outside of what is going to be the scrambles that come from being flyweights. I'm going to pick Brendan Moreno to outbox and keep this fight on the feet. I don't think Amir Albazi is any good. I think he's a terrible fighter with ground game. He's short in a terribly short weight class. It's not good for you. And Moreno's going to be able to keep him outside on the long-ass distance that he has for the weight class of 70-inch reach. Just keep him on the outside and pick and poke and prod until Albazi just can't keep up. Anyways, I think that this is how this fight's going to go as well. That's going to be it for the picks. Tell me what you guys think based on your opinions. We will now, I guess, move on to the very end where I show fight pick percentage. We are at 56%, so we went down since last time that we checked. Last fight card, we didn't do all that great. I think we went 7 out of 13, I think it was. Anyways, like and subscribe. See ya.